You found yourself on another edition of Let 'em Know Kings of the 313, and on today's episode, redemption in Madison Square Garden for the Cavaliers as Donovan Mitchell leads Cleveland to a redemption win against New York, while the Kings suffered a really tough loss at the hands of Klay Thompson and the Golden State Warriors, and the Detroit Pistons had the most epic collapse to a Portland Trailblazer team who was on rebuild mode. We're going to break all that down on today's edition of Let 'em Know Kings of the 313. Let's go! And now, ladies and gentlemen, in the place to be, it is that time for the post-game reaction podcast to the Cleveland Cavaliers, Sacramento Kings, and the Pistons from the D. This is Let 'em Know Kings in the 3-1-3. What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of Let 'em Know Kings in the 313. This is your Sacramento Kings, Cleveland Cavaliers, and Detroit Pistons post-game reaction podcast. I'm your host, Scarlett Weisberg. Thank you so much for tuning into today's program. You can find Let 'em Know Kings in the 313 on Amazon Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and wherever you want to listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms if you can, please. Go to anchor.fm/CLESK313. Turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and give Let 'em Know Kings in the 313 a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. It is a great way to support Let 'em Know Kings in the 313, and I appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in to today's program. The Cleveland Cavaliers walked into Madison Square Garden last night, and they finally got the monkey right off their back. The monkey of the New York Knicks eliminating our Cleveland Cavaliers from the NBA playoffs that last year, which to a certain extent still stings a little bit. But you know what? The Cavaliers got a much-needed get-right win. They snapped a 3-game skid, and now they are 2-3 with a 95-89 victory over the New York Knicks on the road in Madison Square Garden. And our Cleveland Cavaliers are 2-0 away from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And I know it's early, but the Cleveland Cavaliers are a much better road team than a home team right now in the course of the season. But again, it is too early to overreact to these things. What stands out to me about this game? Now, I couldn't watch this game live because I'm from the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area. Shout out New York, New Jersey, what up? And since this game was on MSG Network, and since my house doesn't got MSG Network, the game was unfortunately blacked out for me. So I had to watch NBA.com, or I had to go to the NBA's YouTube channel and watch highlights of this game. And what stands out to me is the Cleveland Cavaliers did not win this game because of their offense. I mean, sure, Donovan Mitchell dropped 30, but that wasn't the biggest thing that impressed me about this game. What impressed me about this win for the Cleveland Cavaliers was their defense. And I have to admit this. The Cleveland Cavaliers prioritize themselves or take a lot of pride on the defensive end. And right now, this team is not showing their defensive capability. They upgraded their offense, and for the most part, I love what the offense is doing, especially with three-point shooting. Caris LeVert, absolutely impressive. Evan Mobley, absolutely impressive. And Donovan Mitchell, you already know what he does. And George Niang, he was in the starting lineup, and he got some good action there. But Defensively, we did a really, really, really good job for the most part. We didn't do a good job of boxing out on the offensive glass because Mitchell Robinson and the New York Knicks completely dominated that matchup because I think Evan Mobley is still a little bit too small to handle a big man like that. But defensively, we did a really, really good job limiting Jalen Brunson to only 24 after letting him go off for, I think, a 30-piece or a 30-burger the first time we saw him 24 hours earlier in Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. So defensively, the Cavaliers did a better job of making adjustments there. As far as the coach's reaction to the defensive side of the ball for the Cleveland Cavaliers, head coach J.B. Bickerstaff said about Cleveland is, we haven't been defending the way we are capable of defending so far this year. We challenge our guys to go out and defend and play Cavs basketball. That is what I'm proud of. We showed our true grit. To a certain extent, I agree with you. I agree with you on that, JB, even though I still think you are the worst head coach in Cleveland Cavaliers history. Do not get me started on the John Beilein 2019-2020 era, okay? And even though, JB, you let us into the playoffs 2 straight years, we choked in the playoffs because of your coaching style. But I will give you credit for this. You are right on the fact that the Cavaliers show great. You are right on the fact that the Cavaliers came in to Madison Square Garden and responded well after a tough loss. What's most impressive about last night's win? The Cleveland Cavaliers outscored the New York Knicks 22-13 in the third quarter. When was the last time we limited a team like New York, a team in the New York Knicks that has offensive killers? People like Jalen Brunson, people like Josh Hart, people like Emmanuel Quickley, people like R.J. Barrett, who didn't play he didn't play this game due to an injury. If R.J. Barrett was on the floor for the New York Knicks, then maybe the New York Knicks would sweep the home and home. But since R.J. Barrett was injured, the Cavaliers made sure they learned their lesson from the game 24 hours before on Halloween night, where they got more tricks than treats. And by the way, for those of you that listened to Thursday's show, or actually Tuesday's show, I recorded 2 shows on Halloween night, and I ranted about how the Cleveland Cavaliers were soft as tissue paper. I guess they responded to me. I guess they listened to the show, and I guess they learned from that mistake, because I think the Cavalier defense stepped the hell up tonight. And Donovan Mitchell was really, really great, especially in the first half. He was shooting bricks in the second half, though, but a 30-piece is a 30-piece for a dynamic scorer in spite of Donovan Mitchell. JB said about Donovan Mitchell, that's who number 45 is. He can create at the end of games. He has the courage to take big shots and make big shots. When you have a lead and you have 45 on your team, you always have a chance to win it. And the Cleveland Cavaliers got a big win, a get-right win for the Cleveland Cavaliers heading into their first NBA in-season tournament game against the Indiana Pacers, a team that has owned the Cavs in recent years. And last time they saw them, it was at home at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, and once again, the Cleveland Cavaliers allowed the Indiana Pacers to go on a big run, and that's what happens in this league. When you allow teams to get on big runs, they can ultimately end your chances of winning, and I'm going to get into that in just a second for the Detroit Pistons. But Coach Tom Thibodeau for the New York Knicks said about the Cavaliers' defense, their defense was tough. It was a defensive game. We needed more easy buckets, and we didn't get those. You got to find a way to win. That is the bottom line. And I want to give credit to the New York Knicks, because although we don't like them, even though we hate them because of the playoffs, sometimes you got to learn to respect them. And I got to say this, the New York Knicks, kudos to you guys, because you guys played the Cleveland Cavaliers tough as usual. But in a defensive matchup, the Cavaliers found a way to win by shooting 43% from the field compared to 35% for the New York Knicks. The three-point percentage, I find this really shocking. We made 12 threes in this game, but the Knicks only made 5. The Knicks made only 5 three-pointers this game. If that stat doesn't stand out to you, I don't know what the hell will. The free throw percentage, the Cavaliers did an outstanding job from the foul line, also shooting 95% from the free throw line. When you shoot 90% or higher from the foul line, you're ultimately going to win games. We did a really good job of being aggressive, and we did a good job knocking down our free throws when we need to. The Knicks only knocked down 66, or I could argue 67% of their shots from the free throw line. The rebounds, 50-46, 16 offensive rebounds for the New York Knicks. Again, I think the size played a really, really big difference in that department. I think I want to see the Cavs step it up a bit and clean up the offensive glass and create second chance opportunities, but that's another story for another day. The blocks were 5-3 in favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The steals were 10-7 in favor of the New York Knicks. The assists, 22-18 in favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The points in the paint were 36-42 in favor of the New York Knicks. More specifically, Mitchell Robinson played a big role in that. The fast break points were 14-8 in favor of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The turnovers, Cleveland needs to do a better job of taking care of the basketball, but that is another story for another podcast episode. What stands out about this game? Donovan Mitchell, he comes to New York and he balls out. All right, when he plays against a New York team or he comes home to New York, you already know he's going to show up and he's going to show out. He balled out in Brooklyn and he balled out in Madison Square Garden with 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Evan Mobley did a really good job, 14 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks for him. Max Strus, I don't know what's been up with you, my guy. I mean, I get that you're in a rough patch, but I need your shot making now. 0 for 5 from 3? Like, come on, man. Come on, man. You got to step it up a bit. Shout out to Karis LeVert coming off the bench and giving nearly 20 points, shooting 3 for 4 from three-point range with 6 rebounds and 5 assists. I should have had him on my fantasy team rather than Max Strus if you think about it, but I'm going to give Max Strus the benefit of the doubt. He's in a rough patch right now, and I do believe that Max Strus will pick up the shooting. Overall, a good get-right bounce back, big dub for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We got to get healthy, though, because we need Darius Garland and Jared Allen back, especially with the NBA in-season tournament starting tomorrow night at Gainbridge Fieldhouse when the Cavs travel to Indiana to take on our Central Division rival, Indiana Pacers. Speaking of the Central Division, the Detroit Pistons suffered the collapse loss that I never thought we could have. I mean, we shouldn't be a 1-3 team like the Portland Trailblazers, right? But that didn't happen. I'll tell you why when we come back on Let 'Em Know Kings in the 3-1-3. We're back on Let 'Em Know Kings in the 3-1-3, and I want to talk about the most epic collapse that I never thought that the Detroit Pistons would have, especially against a team that came in 1-3, against a team that doesn't have Damian Lillard anymore, a team coming in that was one of the bottom feeders of the NBA last year in the Portland Trailblazers, and I have to say, the Portland Trailblazers made this a trap game for the Detroit Pistons. And unfortunately for Detroit, they beat themselves. They beat themselves, especially in the second half, as the Portland Trailblazers beat the Detroit Pistons by a final score of 110-101. And my reaction to this game is this. In the first half, it was all Detroit. The Pistons were in complete control of the first half. They were playing aggressive defense. Cade Cunningham was having a really, really great game, even though he dropped 30 points, but it was misleading because of one critical stat of Cade Cunningham that I'm not liking right now. I'm not liking this one particular stat that Cade Cunningham had, and I'm going to talk about that in depth in just a couple of seconds. But Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons, for the first half, were playing extremely, extremely well. It was almost as if the Portland Trail Blazers couldn't even stop them. In that first half, Monty Williams and the Pistons played Detroit basketball. I miss saying that after wins, but unfortunately, the Detroit Pistons was eating something after the game in Detroit, and they were eating this fresh hot L that the Portland Trail Blazers handed it to them. But Chauncey Billups said in the press conference, they beat us up in the first half. Or, in other words, in the famous meme, they had us in the first half, I ain't gonna lie. But in the second half, all credit to Portland. All credit to the Portland Trail Blazers. They took care of business. They played an aggressive game on defense. They stepped up a little bit. They made critical adjustments. And for the Pistons, unfortunately, they're undisciplined. Their lack of discipline on the floor costed us again. We were outscored 50-26 in the second half, and we only scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. A 17-point fourth quarter after a 32, 27, and 25-point performance in the first three quarters prior to the fourth. Why is that? Monty Williams said in his press conference that we were getting out-rebounded. The Detroit Pistons were getting out-rebounded. For a team that prioritized itself on defense and rebounding and physicality, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it right now, the Pistons are the softest team in the NBA. I get that they're 2-3. I get that they're 2-3 and it's still early in the season. But you cannot lose a game to a 1-3 team that was a bottom feeder in the NBA last year, and they didn't have a clutch closer in Damian Lillard, but they did have a guy in Shaedon Sharpe that absolutely went off. He scored 26 of his 29 points in the second half, and the Trailblazers overcame an 18-point lead by the Detroit Pistons. They blew an 18-point lead. As far as Chauncey Billups, he said, we turned it around, and Shaedon was incredible. He had to carry us, and he did it. I want to give credit to the Portland Trailblazers. I want to give credit to Chauncey Billups because... And I'm not talking about how the Chauncey Mr. Big Shot Billups played for the Detroit Pistons in 2004, my childhood Pistons in 2004, and led the Detroit Pistons to the Going to Work Championship. And I saw my man Big Ben Wallace in the crowd. I love to see that. I loved seeing my boy Big Ben Wallace in the stands. But he watched Chauncey Big Shot Billups out-coach the Detroit Pistons and Monty Williams, especially in the second half. Again, in the second half, all credit to the Portland Trailblazers. They took care of business. And their turnovers were hitting the Pistons. And they were hitting Detroit hard. And to me, that's a little concerning. That is a little concerning because if you don't take care of the basketball, if you don't value possessions, if you don't make an effort to score points, you're not going to get a chance to win. It's that simple. It's a simple game. Take care of the ball, run the offense, be physical on defense, and get out of here with a W. Unfortunately for Detroit, the only thing that they did was play electric offense. The defense, for the most part, especially in the first half, was great. The second half was lackadaisical. And again, the turnovers and the lack of discipline that a Monty Williams team normally has killed the Detroit Pistons. The turnovers were starting to get concerning because of timeliness, Williams said. I might be playing guys too many minutes because they look tired. And maybe they did look tired. But unfortunately for Detroit, you ain't getting rest. You ain't getting rest because in the next 3 hours or so, as I'm recording this, you are taking on a New Orleans Pelicans team that has Zion Williamson that will, again, look to be more physical than the Detroit Pistons. And I swear to God, if the Pistons lose this one against Zion Williamson, then I don't know what to tell you, bruh. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to say it's a lost cause. I'm not going to say it's a lost season because it's too early to overreact. But Detroit needs to step it up. Detroit needs to stiffen up, especially on taking care of the ball and especially on the defensive side of the ball. As far as Cade Cunningham, Chauncey Billups said that Cade really hurt us in the first 3 quarters, but Kamara came in and was able to match up with him physically. He stayed with him step by step and made him work for everything. And the Pistons shot 38% from the field in a 42-point second half. Ausar Thompson, look, I love this guy when he does on the floor, but it's the humility that this guy has that I'm really impressed with. Listen to his response. He had a really good second half talking about De'Aaron Sharp, who had 15 points in the quarter as the Trailblazers shot 68% from the field in the second half. 68 to 38%. That is a 30% differential in favor of the Portland Trailblazers. But listen to Ausar Thompson's response. He had a really good second half, and I got too relaxed on defense a couple of times. I've got to be better than that because I know what he's capable of doing. First of all, I like the fact that he's acknowledged that he played a good game, but in the second half, he collapsed on defense. He didn't pay attention to Shaedon Sharpe, and he said that he was going to get better. For a guy that has a basketball IQ that is high as the day is long, he is going to be, and I'm speaking of Ausar Thompson, a good breakout star in this league. And responses like that is going to take him really far. Scoot Henderson left this game due to an injury. We don't know what the severity of the ankle injury is, according to Chauncey Billups and the Portland Trailblazers. And Alec Burks, which we could have used last night, did not play this game due to hamstring soreness. But the stats: 44% for the field for the Detroit Pistons compared to 47% for the Portland Trailblazers. As far as the three-point shooting, 37% for the Detroit Pistons. You can argue 38 compared to 35 for the Portland Trailblazers. The free throw percentage, Pistons did 90% from the free throw line, but they only made 10 free throws. They only got the foul line 11 times, while the Portland Trailblazers compared to 33. What does that tell you? The Portland Trailblazers were more aggressive than the Detroit Pistons, so I guess you could say to a certain extent that the Pistons were playing soft in this game. 44 to 38 in the battle of the glass. The Blazers dominated that area. The turnovers, 18 turnovers. 18! You're not going to win games like that. 18. Take care of the ball and do better. The Pistons did a really good job in the paint, but 31 fouls and 18 turnovers compared to 17 turnovers and just 15 fouls. The discipline needs to be better, Detroit. And I've seen ya. I've seen disciplined teams in Detroit. The going to work team in 2004 was a more disciplined team than this team right now. And this might be an overreaction, and I understand that. But Detroit needs to be better in that aspect of the game, especially when they got a game tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans, which would be a really big challenge for Detroit because the Pelicans are coming in 3-1, even though they had a tough loss against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So the Pelicans are going to look to respond. Let's see if Detroit learns to respond from a tough loss like this. Shaedon Sharpe, again, outstanding second half for him. 29 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He was 3 for 6 from three-point range in the second half. DeAndre Ayton, double-double for him with 16 points and 11 rebounds. The former Piston Jeremy Grant killed his former team with 24 points, a rebound, and a steal. As far as Detroit, Cade Cunningham, offensively, you did well with 30 points. You were 5 for 9 from three-point range with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. I got no problem with that. But here's a problem. 6 turnovers? Really? Really? For a number 1 overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft, you mean to tell me that you had 6 turnovers in this game? Maybe you're not as good as I thought you were. Maybe Cade Cunningham was the wrong number 1 overall pick. Maybe Cade Cunningham should have been a 2 pick, a 3rd pick, maybe a 4th pick. I don't know. But Cade Cunningham, I don't mind you dropping 30. I don't mind you dropping 25, but you gotta take care of the basketball, man. You gotta be better at taking care of the ball. Asar Thompson did a better job than you at taking care of the ball with 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and only 2 turnovers in this game. Killian Hayes, get out of the starting lineup, and I mean now. 0 for 6 from the field tonight. 3 rebounds, 3 steals, but no points. No points for Killian Hayes. What are we doing? What are we freaking doing? This is not the childhood team that I know. And as far as tonight's game goes with the New Orleans Pelicans, you either learn from this loss and you respond against New Orleans, or we're going to have problems. Or I might have to go on another rant like I did to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Because right now, Jaden Ivey is looking like he needs to be in the starting lineup better than Killian Hayes. Yes, he dropped 10. Yes, he dropped 10 points, but he looks a lot better than Killian Hayes right now, and it's not even freaking close. When we come back, this is going to pain me. The Golden State Warriors break the Sacramento Kings' hearts again. I am sick of them, I am sick of them, and I am sick of them. We're going to talk about this game coming up next after this break. We're back on Let 'Em Know Kings at 313, and for the 11th time in their last 17 games, including preseason and postseason matchups, the Golden State Warriors defeat the Sacramento Kings by a final score of 102-101. But let me just say this. That was a magnificent basketball game. A magnificent basketball game between two well-known rivals. I can go ahead and say it, right? I can go ahead and say it. This is the greatest rivalry in NBA basketball in the modern era because you got two very well-coached teams. One in Mike Brown, the reigning defending undisputed unanimous coach of the year in the Sacramento Kings, and another well-coached person by the name of Steve Kerr, you know, multiple-time NBA champion as a coach with the Golden State Warriors and as a player with the Chicago Bulls when Michael Jordan was with the Chicago Bulls. And let me say this. I don't know. Some fans are calling it a rivalry. Some fans are calling it mutual respect. I'm going to say it's a rivalry, and I love it. I love every single ounce of this rivalry. It is good for basketball. It is entertaining. It is always a must-see game when the Sacramento Kings and the Golden State Warriors go at it. But one thing I do not like about this matchup is you got two guys in Steph Curry and Klay freaking Thompson that are Sacramento King killers. I don't get it. I seriously do not get it. I thought this was over. I thought the dynasty of the Golden State Warriors is over. But no, it's not. Because in game 1, Steph Curry killed us. He killed us in game 1 when the Warriors beat us at the Golden One Center 122-114. Because it just so happens when the Golden State Warriors and the Kings meet at the Golden One Center, Steph Curry normally kills the Kings. In this case, though, Steph Curry didn't do as much in this game. Sure, we only limited to 21 points, and that is a credit to the Sacramento Kings defense. But you get killed by Klay Thompson. You get killed by the other Splash brother. You get killed by a cold-blooded shooter, and that's what Klay Thompson is, a cold-blooded shooter. And what stands out to me is, I listened to the Golden State Warriors broadcast feed, and one of the analysts said, that's the problem with the Golden State Warriors. You double or triple team Steph Curry, you got another killer in Klay Thompson, and unfortunately for Sacramento, that's what happened. That's what happened. You got beat by a heartbroken 17-foot shot when less than a second remaining. I think it was 0.2 of a second remaining when the shot knocked down by Klay Thompson, and the Warriors held off a second-half flurry by the Sacramento Kings. And let me just say this about the Sacramento Kings. I gotta give the Kings a ton of credit. That was a better effort by the Sacramento Kings, who, mind you, did not have their best player. They did not have De'Aaron Fox in this game. They didn't have Mr. Fourth Quarter in this game. He didn't play this game due to an ankle injury. And as of this recording, I recently found out, according to Sac Kings Talk on Instagram, that De'Aaron Fox could be back for the 2-game series against Houston. If that happens, I gotta tell you, that would be huge. That would be huge because the Sacramento Kings could have used De'Aaron Fox for scoring against Golden State last night. But I got to give credit to Davion Mitchell. I got to give credit to JaVale McGee. I got to give credit to Kevin Huerter. I got to give credit to Keegan Murray. I got to give credit to Malik Monk. I got to give credit especially to Domantas Sabonis, who hit a go-ahead two-pointer with 16 seconds to play after Steph Curry's layup before in a wild minute. As Steph Curry, like I said, did not do his vintage Steph Curry self. But there was another guy that killed the Golden Sacramento Kings today, or last night, as Dario Saric contributed key minutes on both ends for the Warriors and finished with 15 points and 6 rebounds, often making it difficult for Sabonis driving in the paint. Sabonis had 23 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. As far as Saric, Kirk quoted, that was a huge pickup for us. A guy who can flat out play. He was fantastic. And about Saric's performance, today I cleared my mind and stayed positive the whole game. And fans of both teams, Golden State and Sacramento, were treated to a back-and-forth, instant classic, and absolute playoff-type thriller between Golden State's quick visit home between road games, played in New Orleans on Monday night and at Oklahoma City on Friday. 8 games in 8 cities over the 13 days that Kerr said made absolutely no sense. And that is going to be a really, really good challenge for the Golden State Warriors. But for the Sacramento Kings, you have nothing to put your head down, boys. You have nothing to be ashamed of. That was a great effort and a great performance, especially when we outscored them 24-18 in the third quarter. Now, coming into this game, the Sacramento Kings understood the scouting report. They understood when it's the third quarter, the Golden State Warriors were a team that were capable of turning it on. We outscored them in the third, but a 28-22 fourth quarter, including a game winner by Klay Thompson, which is absolutely unfortunate, costing the victory for the Sacramento Kings. But you know what? I'm proud of that effort, but I'm proud of the effort by Sacramento despite the loss. That was a well-played game and a valiant effort by Sacramento, who were without De'Aaron Fox. As far as the stats, all credit to Golden State. They shot 48% from the field compared to 41% for Sacramento. The three-pointers were pretty even, but percentage-wise, Golden State was slightly better, but they both had the same number of attempts with 11. The free throw percentage, I gotta say, though, the Sacramento Kings need to make their free throws. They need to make free throws because free throws will help determine whether you win or lose games. That's the only negative that I have for Sacramento. They need to work on their free throw shooting, especially Domantas Sabonis, 7 for 12 for the free throw line. Listen, my man, you stepped up big, and I give you credit for that, but you got to make your free throws, my guy. That's just simple. Golden State did a better job of sharing the basketball 32-24 in that department. As far as the rebounds, Sacramento did a really good job at that, especially crashing 14 of those offensive rebounds. That was huge. The turnovers, Sacramento, for the most part, did a good job cleaning the ball for the most part. Fast break points were 10-7 in favor of Sacramento. The points in the paint advantage, Golden State. It was a very good game. It was a well-played, a magnificent basketball game. And as far as the stats for the Sacramento Kings, Domantas Sabonis led the Sacramento Kings in scoring with 23 points. He had 11 rebounds, 8 assists, a near triple-double for him. Keegan Murray, 10 points. He was 0 for 7 from three-point range, but I like the fact that he kept shooting. He stayed the course, and he finished with 6 rebounds and 3 assists, as well as 2 big steals. Malik Monk, coming off the bench, very well. 16 points, 3 of 5 from 3, with 3 rebounds and 2 assists. I'm surprised he didn't get the start, but Davion Mitchell did. But I guess what Mike Brown decided was Davion Mitchell was a better defensive player than Malik Monk. And do not get me wrong, he finished with 13 points, with 3 rebounds and 4 assists tonight, and 3 for 6 from three-point range. But I would have rather preferred Malik Monk starting over Davion Mitchell, but I'm not Mike Brown. I'm not the head coach of the Sacramento Kings, all right? Kevin Huerter. Listen, this guy, I love him, but I hate him at the same time. He's on and off sometimes. But he did play, but he did finish with 11 points. He did grab 9 rebounds. He did get 3 assists. He did get a steal, which I'm really happy about. As far as Golden State, Steph Curry, he didn't drop 30 he didn't drop like 40 or 30 on Sacramento, but he did finish with 21 with 5 rebounds and 3 assists. Klay Thompson, 14 points, including the game dagger winner and 3 big blocks and 2 rebounds. Draymond Green came back, made his season debut. We finished with 13 rebounds, 13 points, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Saric off the bench was fantastic. 15 points, 3 of 5 from 3 with 6 rebounds and 2 assists. Overall, listen, you got to give credit to Golden State. A good win. A great win, a absolutely thrilling win for Golden State. But I also got to give credit to the Sacramento Kings. A very valiant effort against a really great team, and that's something that the Sacramento Kings look to build on going into their 2-game series against Dillon Brooks and the Houston Rockets. And by the way, if the Sacramento Kings do not put Dillon Brooks on a poster, then I don't know what the Sacramento Kings are doing. Dillon Brooks is a bum. Dillon Brooks is nothing but garbage. I don't care how good he is. He is an immature son of a bitch, and he needs to be put in a poster. He needs to be put on a poster. So, Domantas Sabonis, Keegan Murray, Malik Monk, JaVale McGee, even De'Aaron Fox if you have to, please put Dillon Brooks in a poster, and everything will be all right in Houston. That's going to do it for today's edition of Let 'Em Know Kings in the 313. You can find this show on Amazon Music, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, wherever you listen to this show. Give the show a follow on those platforms. Turn on your notifications so you know about the next episode. Please go to anchor.fm/CLESK313 and download the Spotify for Podcasters app. Please rate, spread the word out to your friends, and let them know Kings in the 313 a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Skylar Weisberg, and I will see you right back here for another episode of Let 'em Know Kings in the 313